This is a 2026 facelift Kia Sportage. It has new headlights and I'd like to say that's all, but I promise you there are more changes and some of them are even for the better, which isn't so obvious these days. This is the front-wheel drive non-electrified version, the cheaper end of the spectrum, which is exactly what you like, or you say you like. Let's see if it's any good. The Kia Sportage is more than 30 years old. The first generation was based on the Mazda Bongo. Good old days. The second generation, which arrived in European showrooms around the beginning of my automotive career, was produced in Slovakia after the facelift. From the third generation onwards, the Sportage features a grille in the shape that Kia calls a tiger nose. This is the fifth generation, launched in 2021, and, as expected, it was due for a facelift. Aside from the new headlights and resulting revised grille, little has changed on the exterior. After carefully reviewing my old footage, I found some differences at the rear. The fog lights and the reversing lights have disappeared from the lower corners of the rear bumper and are now centrally positioned. The taillight signature has also changed, although the housings remain the same. Oh, and from the side, the satin finish on the sill is now thicker. Due to the revised bumper shape, the Sportage has grown 2.5 centimeters longer, but other dimensions remain the same. The boot volume, depending on the powertrain and trim, is roughly also the same. Currently, it ranges from 540 to 591 liters in a 5-seat configuration. This is the front-wheel drive version without any sort of hybrid, so this has the largest boot. Spoiler, realistically, it's about 100 liters smaller than the data suggests. Why? This is a Kia Poland press car, and all non-PHEV models in Poland come with a standard mini spare. I don't know what it's like in your market, but that peace of mind will cost you some underfloor storage. Even with the floor dropped to its lower position, the boot is approximately 85 centimeters long, 104 centimeters wide, and there's about 50 centimeters to the cargo cover. The floor can be lowered, or you can stow the cargo cover beneath it. However, the lowered floor isn't completely flat. It rises towards the rear seats. On the one hand, this means it's easier to push items onto the folded seats, but on the other hand, there is no full cargo depth across the entire length. There are shopping bag hooks, levers to fold the second row seat backs, and a 12-volt power outlet. The rear backrest splits 40-20-40, but that's nothing new. The rear seats are also the same. The doors cover the sills. There are door pockets, still quite tight. There is decent legroom and headroom. The backrest angle is adjustable. There are cup holders in the armrest, and there are hooks for clothes and maybe some shopping as well on the front seat backrests. In the seat backrests are also USB-C ports. Isofix anchor points are on the side seats, and the side seats are heated. There is a tunnel running through the middle, and there are air conditioning vents above it. Third zone climate control is available in top trim models. Up front, the biggest changes are the new steering wheel. We have a new interface for the infotainment system, and piano blacks disappeared from around the gear selector. After a closer look at my old footage, I also noticed that the air vents are different, especially here on the sides. Now, some brilliant mind decided that while heated, ventilated, electrically adjustable seats are on lower trims, the memory function for said electric seats is only on the top of the line GT line trim. Previously, it was an option on several trims. Now, the key change is the infotainment system. We finally have proper wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto regardless of the trim. Previously, Hyundai and Kia offered wireless Android Auto only on models without OEM SatNav, and OEM SatNav required using a data cable. Unfortunately, the cable remains because the wireless charger constantly interrupts charging, so it maintains charge at best. And those ventilated seats are very, very effective. As part of the infotainment system, you can purchase access to digital services. Something tells me that someone saw those Chinese cars with YouTube access and decided to offer a product just like it, but for a fee, to see if anyone really wants to use it. Since this is a press car, I don't have the opportunity to test the digital key, but apparently it can be configured to unlock, lock and start the car using your phone. The digital key can also be shared with family members or friends. This is another feature that sounds interesting, but I don't know how many people will actually use it. Other than that, there are no changes. There are door pockets, physical buttons on the steering wheel, physical buttons on the tunnel, much too large cup holders, and a medium-sized storage compartment under the armrest, as well as a medium-sized glove box. Unfortunately, Kia left the dual-function SatNav climate control panel, which I'm not a fan of. Software changes are for the better. Firstly, ESA can now be turned off by long pressing the mute button on the steering wheel. It's also worth to program one of the programmable buttons to take you directly into driver assistance systems. Sometimes it's worth going in there and disable something if the road conditions exceed the capabilities of, for example, the lane departure warning. On narrow winding roads, it can be bothersome. Cross the line a couple of times and it triggers that maybe you need a brake warning. However, it's still much better than what Kia had a couple of years ago when the newly implemented mandatory systems were going mad and driving me mad. For example, here the driver attention monitoring system didn't go off once, even though I drove the Sportage for more than 1,000 kilometers and I was chatting with my passengers and fiddling with the settings. So definitely not concentrating on the road 100% of the time. The front emergency braking system now works when it's actually needed, not when the driver in a car 2 lengths ahead in traffic touches the brake. These are all positive changes. Kia must have listened to the feedback from customers and the media. Or maybe it was simply the time to update the software that shouldn't have been released in the first place. Now, this isn't criticism of Kia specifically, because other brands are guilty of the same. With relatively easy software updates, car makers tend to release cars that back in the day wouldn't have left the factory or be subject to recalls, and that would leave blemishes on the company's reputation. Today, they simply release a software update that will probably improve something and maybe not even spoil anything else. I know, boomer. Okay, moving on. Kia got rid of mild hybrids, mostly because some markets get a front-wheel drive diesel MHEV. Instead, we have non-electrified versions like this one, hybrids and plug-in hybrids, all powered by the 1.6 T-GDI petrol engine with power ranging from 150 to 288 horsepower. Each powertrain variant is now available with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which, in my opinion, makes no sense, especially in case of the more powerful models. Even the 150 horsepower version can spin wheels when entering a junction, let alone a 239 horsepower hybrid or a 288 horsepower PHEV. For the non-electrified version, we have front-wheel drive 150 horsepower with a manual transmission or a 7-speed DCT, or all-wheel drive 180 horsepower with DCT. All hybrids have a 6-speed automatic. Going from front to all-wheel drive costs about $2,500. I'd take it, especially if you live in a place where it rains or snows. The Sportage with this engine should consume around 7 liters per 100 kilometers in the combined cycle. In eco mode, it's a struggle but achievable. The promised 0 to 100 km per hour time for the 150 horsepower front-wheel drive version with DCT is 9.4 seconds. I got 9.5 seconds in sport mode and 9.3 seconds in normal mode. Initially, you can feel the computer trying to cut power. I don't know if this was due to traction control on slightly moist surface, or it's more a matter of reducing emissions. Anyway, even if you're not racing between the lights and simply need to merge quickly, you'll almost certainly encounter a situation I remember from Volkswagen about 10 years ago. So, you approach a junction, stop for a split second, take a look around, then hit the gas pedal, and nothing happens for so long that the car that was on the horizon now flashes lights at you because you've cut it off. And that's where all the wheel spin attempts come from. Instead of moving off when you hit the gas pedal, the car is trying to figure out how much carbon dioxide it can release into the atmosphere. So you floor it, which uses up the clutch, burns rubber, and you emit even more. But in testing, the emissions are low. I suspect the hybrid powertrain solves this problem because the electric motor allows for a dynamic start without forcing the combustion engine to contribute to global warming too much. And one more piece of advice, skip the plug-in hybrid Sportage as it has a ridiculously small traction battery. Okay, so how's the Sportage to drive? Once it gets going, it's very good. The steering, even in normal mode, feels tight and precise. It's definitely a matter of how the electric power steering is programmed, but I consider this to be a pleasant feeling. The suspension is comfortable and supple. It takes big bumps for it to unsettle. The sound insulation is very good. Only at higher speeds do you start to hear the engine, but in the city, when the engine is almost silent, you are shielded from most of outside noises. The adaptive cruise control works well. I think the lane change assistant was added as part of the facelift. It works only on highways, but it's there. The head-up display is clear and shows you also directions from Google Navigation, not just OEM sat-nav. Prices of the refreshed Kia Sportage start at €35,190 for the base trim front-wheel drive manual petrol model. This test car is the second trim from the top, front-wheel drive DCT. With options, it costs €46,760. The refreshed Kia Sportage is a decent package for an almost reasonable price. Besides cosmetic changes, there are software improvements which are crucial to making a car comfortable in everyday use. I'd skip the non-electrified version and the PHEV as well, focusing on the all-wheel drive hybrid. That unfortunately will take you into the 50s, but I think it's worth it. And what do you think about the Kia Sportage? Do you own one of the previous generations, or maybe you have the pre-facelift model? How's it to live with? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.